everybody. I have decided, because I've been watching a lot of videos lately about spooky stuff. The two channels I watch the most are like Harmony Nice, who I actually found because I was looking for witches to follow on YouTube. And she does a lot of really cool spooky videos where she talks about like paranormal stuff that's happened to her, things that happen to other people, urban legends, that kind of stuff. I've been watching her. I've been watching Loie Lane and all of her stuff about the various spooky things she does. She reads creepypasta and it's really cute. I really like it. But and some others, like I've been watching like the Try guys that do the investigations, and now they have their own channel where they talk about like unsolved cases and things like that. I've just really been enjoying that, and I've wanted to do more on my YouTube channel because back in the day when I did Roadhouse, I had a video up every week, and it was a lot of fun. But then D-Rock moved away, and we couldn't do them as often or at all because she lives literally in the Aleutian Islands. I was like, I have all sorts of spooky stuff that has happened to me in my life. But I thought I would start with a story that I told already on my blog about my old house and how haunted it was. And it was not haunted when we moved in, to give you a little bit of background on that. It was not haunted. It didn't feel haunted. I am very sensitive to energies like that, and I did not have any feeling that it was haunted. I also grew up in the house, and I never had any feeling, okay, that this house was haunted. So, and I'm trying to think of the timeline here. I don't think I can really remember the actual dates, but this was back in the 2000s. It was probably like 10 years ago. I had met this girl when I was in college, and I won't go into all of it, but I had met this girl when I was in college, and we became friends, and she started acting like she seemed totally normal, but then within like months of knowing her, she abandoned her child and her whole life and became this totally different person who was super strange. I ended the friendship. I just drifted, and I did that thing. I ghosted her. But then like years later, she calls me out of the blue, and she's like, "Oh, Jen, hi, blah, blah, blah," and like tries to start up this friendship again because she's getting married. And she's like, "I really want you to be my maid of honor because you introduced me to my husband," which, sorry about that, dude. Or that's how she got back into my life, basically, was I was duped again. I was like, okay, she's got her life back on track. I'm gonna, give her a chance. People do stupid shit when they're young. So we become friends again, and she's pagan and I'm pagan, and we decide to form a little coven. When we got involved in the spiritual stuff together, I did have some concerns because she started telling me about things that she had done with her previous coven. She tells me about this spell that she had done with her past coven, and it was because her boyfriend had cheated on her, and then they found out that the person that he cheated on her with was pregnant. She told me that they all got together, they meditated, and they imagined, like they visualized this woman, and they visualized her baby, and they visualized cords, like red cord going from, or it was like a red cord that was going from the baby to this other woman. They envisioned a silver cord going from the boyfriend to the woman, and a silver cord going from the boyfriend, or a red cord going from the boyfriend to the baby. They envisioned cutting the cord from him, from the cheater, to the baby. And then they envisioned cutting the silver cord between him and the girl that he cheated with, but they also cut the red cord between the baby and the girl. I was like, that sounds kind of dangerous to me. That sounds kind of like you were trying to make her lose her baby. No. That wasn't what I wanted to do. That wasn't it at all. I just didn't want there to be the connection between him and the baby, and her thinking that she could get him to do anything with the baby. And I'm saying, like, that's his child. Like, that was the other thing. I was like, it doesn't matter if he cheated, it's still his child. Why would you punish the child? But again, sucked in by a manipulative person, I totally believed her. Later I found out that it wasn't really his baby. The girl had already been pregnant and all of that stuff. So I believe now that she was trying to make her miscarry as like punishment for cheating with her boyfriend. But and the Coven went along with this, and I don't know, or even if the Coven did go along with this, or even if this was totally made up, it might have been totally made up. I can't trust her. So she did some dangerous stuff like that, and I had this thought when we started our Coven together that, okay, at least I would call that stuff out. At least I'm a kind of person who would call that out and be like, this is a bad idea and I don't want to participate. And I thought maybe I could like rein her in a little bit. We started doing rituals and stuff together, and it was fine. Then she got divorced from this guy, and everything went to hell. She was spending a lot of time at my house. Like I said, this is all on my blog. It's a 9-part series on my blog that I won't recap the whole thing, but she was spending a lot of time at my house and was constantly relying on me for stuff. Always, can you drive me here? Can you give me money? So after this started happening, a lot of weird shit started happening to us in our house. It started out like kind of fairly benign. Like, for example, one day my son and I went into the house. We had just come in from, we were out shopping or something, and there was a bowl of candy from Halloween that was still sitting out next to the door. Not the door we came in. There were 2 doors. There was like a door here, and then there was like the front door like over here. So we came in the side door, and when we came in, we closed the door, we took off our coats. There wasn't like strong wind blowing in. It wasn't like there was a pressure change that caused this. This bowl was sitting on a table. It wasn't on a ledge. It wasn't anything like that. Nothing was shaking the walls. We don't live by the space station or the space center where if a rocket takes off, it would shake the house. Any possible explanation that you could have for this. This bowl in front of our eyes lifted up and shot across the room, hit the wall, and the candy went everywhere. And I was like, wow, excuse me? Like, wow, that's very weird. I didn't immediately suspect this person because she was actually out of our lives at that point. She had found a MySpace boyfriend and moved to Colorado. Again, if you want the whole story, it's on my blog. I'll put a link. So after that incident happened, nothing happened for a while. So the candy bowl incident, I thought, okay, isolated incident. Creepy, but isolated incident. Then, my son started saying weird stuff. He was like talking about the ghost mice. He was seeing ghost mice in the basement where the family room was. There was the family room and the laundry room. And he said, oh, I see the ghost mice. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, you know, they're ghosts. They're little mice and they're ghosts. So I was trying to figure out what he was talking about because he was still very young at the time. He was like 4 or 5 and language-wise wasn't very developed. I'm trying to figure out at this point what it is that he is seeing, and I can't come up with any explanation. But I figure, okay, maybe he's making something up. He saw something on TV. Christmas rolls around, and we put up our Christmas tree, and there's an ornament on the tree that plays music. It randomly starts playing music. Nobody's near it. Nobody's around it. It'll randomly just start playing music. If we mentioned it, like one time one of my friends was over and I was like, there's this ornament on the tree. I think the batteries are going bad because the thing keeps going off. And even after we replaced the battery, it would still happen, but the time that I told my friend I thought something was wrong with it, it immediately started again. I talked to my neighbor who had lived in the house next to us since this house was built, because they were all built at the same time. It was one of those like where they build a little neighborhood. And they said, well, the guy that lived there before was weird, but nothing happened. Nobody died in that house. Nobody was murdered in that house. There really wouldn't be a reason for it to be haunted. Then my son was hysterical one night. He had this favorite doll. It was this little baby doll that he loved. He never wanted to see it again, ever. I said, why? He said, because it looks at me. Now that he's older, he explained that the doll's head would turn and it would look at him. And he was so freaked out. And again, yeah, it could have been him making stuff up, but he loved this doll. There was no reason that he would have wanted to get rid of it and he would become so afraid of it. Now that he's older, he's like, yeah, the doll's head would turn and it would look at me. And what? Excuse me? That's weird, creepy. Dolls? People are scared of dolls anyway. That is pretty scary. Other things started happening. Like one night, my husband and I were talking about how things were getting a little bit strange in the house. And we were laying in bed and we heard the bathroom door slam while we were talking about this. And I was like, see, this is the kind of thing. He goes, maybe we left the window open in the bathroom. Maybe the attic fan came on and it was a pressure change. And I'm sitting there like, the attic fan comes on all the time and there's never a pressure change that causes the door to slam. The window in the thing is in the shower. I would never open it. It was this whole thing. But he's like, okay, well, I'll get up and I'll go check and I'll open it. So he opened it up again and came back to bed. He gets in bed and within seconds, the door slams again. He gets up. He's a little bit less insistent that it's something else because he was there for the ornament and he heard all about the ghost mice, and so now he's kind of like, So he's like, okay, well, I'll get up and I'll do it, So he gets up and he does it again, and he gets back in bed, and the door slams again. The attic fan wasn't on. We would have heard it. It was any of this stuff. And then he's like, I'm not getting out of bed and opening it again. He wasn't like, oh, I'm scared and there's a haunting, but he's like, oh, well, I'm not going to get up and do that again. So he was like, oh, in the morning I'll check it and make sure that it's not like uneven, whatever. I'm like, okay, nobody believes me. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. We'll just go with that. It was around this time that I found out, and I think it was because she called me on the phone. She finally called me, this woman that I used to know, and she moved to Colorado. You know who I'm talking about. I've been telling the story about her. Anyway, she calls me and says, my life here is great and my whatever. And she says how she credited it to this ritual that she had done in my house. And she said, yeah, when I was living with you for a little bit, I one night was just feeling so sad and so terrible. I lit a candle and I did a little ritual where I just told the universe that whatever I was putting out in the universe, I wanted it to come back to me. I wanted it to come back to me. I think she said like tenfold or maybe 3, because she was big into the whole 3 times 3 thing. So she may have said 3 times or whatever, but she said, I want it to come back to me right here, right now. She really thought that she was putting out all of this wonderful energy into the universe. And then she got up and walked out and she never cast a circle. And I started to understand then what was going on. The worst part is that once I knew what was going on, things escalated very, very quickly. My son started describing things that he was seeing in the basement. Green, drippy people who were floating. They were green, they were dripping, they had red eyes, and they were floating in the basement, in the family room, or no, not in the family room, in the laundry room. He was talking, and he's a kid. It was, downstairs in the basement. Maybe it's scary, but he was never afraid to be down there. Just when when he would describe these things, it would just be like, oh yeah, I saw green drippy people in the basement. He wasn't really afraid so much, not as afraid as he was of the doll. We were talking one time, just casually, having lunch at the kitchen table, and my son says, where did the other stairs go? I said, what other stairs? He said, the stairs in the basement. We only had one set of stairs, and they went down to the basement. I said, there aren't any other stairs in the basement? And he said, yes, there are. If you go in the back of the basement, where the stairs are, you can see the other stairs. I thought he was talking about being able to see the back of the stairs, the unfinished back of the stairs. And I said, why don't you take me to it and show me? So the back of the stairs in the far back of our basement were, they were open, like they were unfinished. There was just, 2x4s sort of framing out to support the stairs. Those were all open and there was space underneath. He goes to that space and he frowns and he goes, oh, well, they're not here. And I'm like, okay, sorry, is this a game? You're pretending, you pretend there's stairs there. And he said, oh no, sometimes they're not here. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. And I freaked out. I was like, don't ever go down the stairs. Don't ever go down the other stairs. Promise me. Like, I freaked. I'm like, swear to me you'll never go down the other stairs. And he said, no, I wouldn't, because it's scary down there. Now that he's older, we've had a conversation about this. And honestly, I think he brought it up. And he said, do you remember when I used to talk about the other stairs at the house? And I was like, yeah, what was that about? Now that he can, now that he's a teenager, he can explain it a little bit better. And he said that the stairs were stone stairs that led down from the basement into an underground hallway. In the hallway, there was a figure standing there. It had horns, like ram's horns, and a ram's skeleton like face, but a human body. And it was standing at the bottom of the stairs, and it wanted him to come down the stairs. And he said that beyond it there were doors, and one of them had like an orange light coming out of it. I'm so glad we don't live there anymore. That's like probably the most extreme part of the haunting, or whatever it was. But we also started having really bad luck at this time. I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was walking from the car. And like to this day, I can't quite understand. For a long time, I told people I stepped on a patch of ice and slipped. But thinking back, it was October when this happened. I was outside, and I went to turn on the car, because I drove my son to school every morning to preschool. I went and I turned on the car, and I got out, and I was trying to walk back in to get my son in the house. And I fell. And I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter at the time. Maybe I wasn't even 8 months. I think I was 36 weeks. I don't know if that's 8 months or what. I was 36 weeks pregnant with my daughter. And I slipped, and I fell on my stomach, and I hit my head, and I went into labor. The ambulance had to come and get me. To this day, I still don't know why I fell. I still don't know why that happened. I think my mind put the ice in there, but there was no ice. There was no ice. It just wouldn't have been there. And I look back now, and I think about the thing that woman did to the girl that got cheated on, or that she got cheated on from. And I kind of wonder if that wasn't something that she did, if she didn't try the same thing, like, oh, Jen doesn't like me anymore, oh, Jen isn't giving me money, Jen isn't doing this stuff to support me, I'm going to make her lose her baby. Because she'd done it to somebody before. So I kind of was like, so luckily my daughter was fine. My labor stopped. Nothing tore in there. It was fine. She was born the next week. Like, she was due at the end of November or something, or like mid-November. And she was born, like, I went into labor like on Halloween night. And I think, honestly, she was like, this bitch is gonna kill me. I gotta get out of here. We did end up losing our house. We moved out of the house. We moved here. And things changed, like, almost immediately. We were still in money trouble, but it wasn't as bad as it was. I started doing my blogs about 50 Shades of Grey. I started actually making money writing again. Things were just going better. And we never saw ghost mice. My son never talked about, like, he didn't talk about the other stairs again until, kind of creepily, he didn't talk about the other stairs again until I wrote my series of blog posts about this woman. I think when she did that ritual in my house, I think she invited malevolent energies in that were then attacking us, because she wasn't there. When I moved into this house, I was telling all this stuff. Like, my friend Bronwyn Green knew about all this stuff. And so when we moved here and things did start to improve a little, she said, maybe you should do a binding ritual. Or maybe you should do a ritual just so that anything that this woman does can't affect you anymore. And then I did a binding. And while I was doing the binding, I was listening to music on Spotify, and on Spotify there are ads if you don't pay for it. I was listening to music on Spotify to like, like witchy kind of music. And all of a sudden, a commercial comes on, and the woman's voice that came on goes, "Hi, my name is," and it was the chick's name. But it happened right as I was doing the binding. And it freaked me out. And so now I'm like 100% sure that she did something to me. I stopped practicing witchcraft at that point. Not because I was afraid of witchcraft or anything, but because I felt nothing after I did that binding and after I removed that block. I felt nothing. I fell into a really deep depression. I spiraled so hard. After I wrote the blog post, I like woke up one morning and I was like, I just have to, this is a bonkers story. Nobody's going to believe it. I'm going to write these blog posts about it. I wrote a series of blog posts about it. And as soon as I posted one talking about this subject, just literally like the day, I suddenly was like, I have to set up my altar. I have to do this. I have to do that. What have I been doing? What is wrong with me? I'm like, why haven't I have really been bad. And I felt all of those feelings of wanting to have that connection again and wanting to have that spiritual life again. After I sort of purged all my bad feelings about her and told the truth about this particular event. So, now things are back to normal. She is far away and better stay far away from me because holy cats, no. And one of my friends like looked her up online and was like, oh yeah, this is what she's doing. And I was like, don't even talk to me about her because I am so terrified that it's gonna like bring her back into my life. And this may be the last time I ever talk about it. But that's the story of my old haunted house. I'm gonna try to make more videos. I'd like to get back to that schedule of putting out like one a week. Anyway, thanks for watching. What do I say now? If you like the video, subscribe. If you ring the bell thing, it gives you notifications when I post a video. You can make that little thumbs up, or if you have the Google Chrome extension for the good place, you can send the video to the good place or to the bad place. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.